Hey everybody, it's Paul.
And Steve.
And we are back to discuss it all. We have a great topic today, but before we get to that, as always, I would like to encourage you to please leave the video a thumbs up if you end up enjoying it. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers, and when we do, we will do a question and answer video. Please leave any of those comments down below.
Absolutely.
And that's to say if we haven't hit 500 already.
Because I think by the time this video is up, we're there.
We easily could be. We film these in advance, just to let you guys know.
That's right.
All right, so today's topic, Steve.
Oh, we have a great topic today. Television, and it's those late night TV soaps that everybody loves.
Oh, yeah.
So the five of our favorite, in no order, 5 of our favorite late nighttime soap operas that we enjoy watching on television.
Okay, so these would have been in the late 70s or any time in the 80s, and these are specifically the shows that came on after 9 p.m.
After 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock was that turning time.
It was, and I think they were all dramas.
Yeah, all of them.
Okay, all right, so this is going to be fun.
That's right, so you had prime time, and then you had nighttime, and that's what we're talking about, those shows.
Absolutely.
Late night.
So do you want to start, or do you want me to?
I'll start. I'll go ahead and go first.
All right, great.
So it'll be good. So enjoyed watching television during the 70s, the 80s, some of the best shows that came on. One of the favorite shows that I remember being up late at night watching, my dad would be gone, my mom would be there, we'd be watching it together at 9 o'clock, was Fantasy Island.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Fantasy Island, the plane.
Yeah,
that's right. So loved that. That was the show that came on at the 9 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
So they could have some themes in it that maybe they couldn't show in the prime time.
Yeah.
So loved Fantasy Island. Every episode that I remember watching, I remember enjoying.
Yeah, that was one of those shows. That had a Ricardo Montalban.
Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I remember that in the white leisure suit. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it was just, but he looks pretty good in it.
He made it look really good.
He made it look good.
Yeah, he made it look really good.
So yeah, there was just something about that exotic location. You go to this island, all your dreams can come true. Maybe that's not the best thing.
Not always. And what was fascinating is on a lot of the episodes, that's what happened. People came down with one fantasy in mind, and this was some of the premise of the show is that you don't always know what's best for you, and so sometimes what you thought you wanted, when you didn't get it, you found something even better. It was almost like it was almost like a Hallmark Channel, a Hallmark movie before Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's pretty cool. It's funny. I forgot all about that show. That would have made my list.
I loved that show.
So that's a great
Tattoo. His little
sidekick.
The sidekick. Yeah. So.
All right. So my first pick is going to be, what's it going to be? I'm going to go with Miami Vice.
Okay, great pick.
Yes,
great pick.
So I love Miami Vice, and for me, I think if one show, to my mind at least, encapsulates kind of the '80s, that would probably be the show, because that came out like right in the mid '80s. It was almost like the MTV-ization of a nighttime show.
Absolutely,
it was Crockett and Tubbs, fighting crime in Miami, and of course. I was too young to really understand what was going on in Miami in the very early '80s, and just having to live through that would have been horrible. But seeing the documentaries now of it is kind of fascinating because it really was a whole different culture, a whole different world, with these people just showing up with so much money, buying exotic cars, exotic boats, jewelry, all kinds of stuff, and then you have Crockett and Tubbs. Not quite playing by the rules.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely a show I can't watch now because I'd be like, okay, that's a viation of the Fourth Amendment. That's illegal search and seizure. That's not going to hold up. That's not going to hold up in the court of law. But really, these were kind of like pastel wearing, linen suit wearing Batman.
That's right.
It was people taking justice kind of in their own
hands,
and or like a modern day Dirty Harry.
That's right. Driving around in a white Lamborghini.
Yep.
Don Johnson in his white suit.
Yeah, but it had it all. It had the fashion, it had the music. Everything about it. And it was just a fun show. And I especially liked it because it was a show I watched with my dad.
Right.
A little bit later in the 80s. So that was fun. So Miami Vice is going to be my show.
Love that one. No, I think that's great. All right, so I'll go with it. My second one is going to be Heart to Heart.
Oh, yeah.
So if you haven't seen Heart to Heart, it was a husband and wife duo. Their last name was Hart, H-A-R-T, not H-E-A-R-T, but so Heart to Heart. and they were investigators, and so they would solve crimes and they would get people, off that were innocent, and their interrelationship. He was kind of the stuffed shirt kind of person. She was a little more laid back, the wife, and so it was a great show that I again remember watching late at night and seeing not quite as ostentatious as Miami Vice, but it was set in Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and so it was the nice cars and the big mansions, and the rich person who lost their jewels, and the rich person who murdered somebody else or stole or whatever. So it was a lot of fun to watch. I loved Heart to Heart.
Yeah, a lot of perils with being rich.
Yeah, that's right.
You could be murdered at any moment.
That's right. And someone seemed like they were always out to murder somebody in their mansion. So
that's Luckily, we're not rich with our mansion.
That's
so
right. We're safe.
Yeah.
We're safe.
So that's a great show. And it's funny that how many shows that are probably going to be on our list have to do with like an investigating.
Always, and especially in the 80s, a lot of investigation going on. A lot of crime, I guess, was going on.
I guess it's like the Lego universe. It's crime ridden.
That's right.
There's always the police and fire theme. Something's always on fire. Something's always being stolen. So okay, I'm going to stick with the investigator theme.
Yeah.
And this is going to be moonlighting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep, launched the career of Bruce Willis, probably one of the biggest stars, in Hollywood. And of course Sybil Shepherd was in it. And what's funny is she was actually the star of the show.
She was. That's right.
When that came out, and Bruce Willis with David Addison, I believe was his character's name, kind of stole the show.
Yeah.
And I remember it was the same idea. They were getting hired to do investigation on something. It always led to some kind of zany thing. And there was that tension between the two lead characters in that she was kind of the puffed up one, and he was the much more laid back,
very much so,
much more relaxed, almost to the point of being unprofessional.
Yeah.
But by the end of the episode, they always got the job done, and and on it went.
Worked out in 41 minutes.
Now I can't remember if they ever ended up getting together on screen.
And I don't remember either. I think that you're always kind of getting close to that, but I don't remember it ever happening.
I don't either. I don't think it did. And that was that was one of the elements of all the shows in the 80s. There was always that tension of are they, aren't they?
That's right.
And of course now on TV, what we've got is they're just going to show us.
Always. Yeah. There's nothing's hidden any longer.
So
that's a great pick though. Really was a great show. There was comedy that was involved, along with the drama. It was really good. So all right. So my next pick is going to be similar. I'm gonna stick one more with the investigation theme, and that is Remington Steel.
Oh yeah,
Remington Steel. I loved that show. There was just absolutely something about this investigator who has all of the gravitas and the charisma. Again, there was this. It was almost over the top 80s ostentation, and so but absolutely love Remington Steel.
So that gave us Pierce Brosnan,
without a doubt. That's right. Introduced Pierce Brosnan. I think that was what launched his career.
I think it is, and of course, to me at least, aside from Daniel Craig, he's one of the best James Bonds.
Yeah, without a doubt.
To me, I know a lot of people are going to say Sean Connery, but I just don't remember Sean Connery as James Bond. I mean, of course, I could watch the movies.
Yeah, sure.
But I just don't feel like it. So Pierce Brosnan, that was a great show. I only watched that a few times during the 80s, but that was a fun show when I saw it. I think it came on in a competing time slot with some other stuff, and I can't remember what it was. Why I didn't see more of that. But I remember specifically being in a friend's house, and that was the show they watched.
And so it was on.
That's what we watched.
And you didn't have individial devices. I mean, you had one TV in the house, so whatever was being watched.
That's what it was, and it was that just time in life when it was, if you wanted to see something, you had to be in front of the TV at that time.
That's right.
Because that was before everybody had a VCR. And
couldn't even record anything.
Yeah, and most of us didn't know how to. We could. I mean, all the kids could figure out how to record, but none of the parents could.
No, never.
And all the parents warned you about messing with any electronics. They were afraid you'd break.
That's right. Yeah.
Couldn't change the time on any of the clocks.
That's right.
Couldn't microwave anything.
That's right. Or overwrite some show that they had recorded already. So,
Exactly. Good. So but Remington Steel was a good one, and I do remember him always walking in that sharp-looking suit.
Absolutely, always looked good.
So I feel like that's the pre-runner for shows we've got now. Maybe The Mentalist. some of the other, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Something sparking with that. Okay. Next one I'm going to go with, and this is going to be a 2-for-1. Either of these shows are interchangeable. It would be Airwolf or Blue Thunder.
Yeah.
And they were both shows revolving around a helicopter.
Absolutely.
And the technology of this helicopter actually was almost like another character in the show.
Yeah.
Now, my favorite of the two was Airwolf.
Sure.
I liked that story better, and again, that was almost like the vigilante kind of thing.
Yeah.
Who had this helicopter?
That's right. That's it. Absolutely.
That was just, and also the helicopter was more stylized. It was more sleek looking.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a military helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Thunder was a military helicopter. It was actually the Cobra. The Airwolf was a Bell Jet Ranger, which was modified, had missiles and countermeasures, all these cool things.
Yeah.
And to me, I mean, just as a young boy watching that, it was like, oh, that would be so cool.
That's right. And the main character, John Michael,
I can't remember
his last name.
Yeah, but
somebody will tell us.
Yeah, he was really good in that. And of course, I mean, the scenarios were kind of contrived, but really, the whole show was about him getting in that helicopter and solving the problem with missiles.
That's right. That's exactly right. And the helicopter, there was the almost like Charlie's Angels, where there was the unseen, benefactor that was funding all of this to happen. And John Michael Vincent maybe was his name or something. He wore the cool jacket.
Yeah, had the bomber jacket.
Flew up out of the False volcano, and it was fun. It was a great show. No, that's a great pick.
Yeah.
That was really a fun show.
Yeah, it was kind of like the more adult version of Knight Rider.
That's right, and I think that maybe was a Friday night show.
I think it was because no women were watching.
That's right. No.
that was strictly
That's right.
Young men
blow things up.
And maybe dads watching.
That's right. That was a really good.
People who didn't have dates on Friday and Saturday night.
That's right. They were the ones who were watching. That was a great show, though.
Well,
really enjoyed that. So, all right. So, my next choice is going to be a little comedy. It's drama, but there was an element of comedy in that. So it wasn't a comedy. It was one of these nighttime soaps, and that is The Love Boat.
Yep.
The Love Boat. I think maybe a Tuesday night, 9 o'clock time slot, perhaps.
Sounds right.
You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but The Love Boat was just so much fun. It was so inappropriate, more than likely for like 10-year-old kids to be watching, but it was so fun. It was a great show.
That was the wonderful thing, wonderful in quotes, thing about the 70s and 80s, because there were so many inappropriate things that were, that were borderline for kids. Because PG-13 was not even a designation for movies. So you had everything right up to the R-rated line.
That's right.
Which was basically just considered like, okay, if you got a question about it, ask your parents. That's literally what PG meant, parental guidance.
Parental guidance. Yeah.
and I think that was a little bit more interesting. Of course, that leads to some people seeing some things they probably should.
That's right. That's right.
But there were so many rules and regulations that now looking back at like the Love Boat and the things like, okay, this is so corny.
Yeah, I know it was.
And such a shell of what we see on TV today. Did it really matter?
That's exactly. I think it's a good point. And outside of the doctor, he was really the only one who was so inappropriate that you're
he
don't think people go to jail for this now. So it was a different era, and the doctor could get away with saying and doing what the doctor said. But again, this was about love. This was about people who would meet and they would fall in love, or you would have the couple that their marriage was on the rocks, and they would come on this ship and turn their life around. So you had this kind of pop psychology going on. It was neat. It was fun.
It was, and that was one of the neat things about the show is, of course, the crew of the boat were the characters. They were the characters that were always going to be there. Yep. But the great setup of the show is every week they got a new group of passengers who introduced the storyline, the conflict, and what was going on. And so just a brilliant setup for a show.
Yeah, it was.
And so that's a lot of fun. But you're right. You have a lot of those situations that were like, okay. It's funny, a lot of my shows were involving all the violence and stuff, which again are inappropriate. All right, I will go a different direction. I'm going to go with Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
So that was one of the more grown-up shows compared to other stuff that we're talking about now. And to me, that had just a lot of fun stuff in it with all the business aspects of it. Of course, I mean, it was to me it was almost the precursor of like Wall Street.
Sure.
The movie Wall
That's
Street,
right.
which is a phenomenal
That's right.
movie, introduced us to Gordon Gekko. But it was just the idea that greed is good, and anything that gets you more is morally justified.
Yeah, that's right.
As long as at the end of the day you end up with more, whatever you had to do to get it is fine.
There's probably no show that's more 80s than Dallas.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
You're probably right. Well, we'll end this end it with that. I'll talk about something else about these nighttime soaps and just regular soaps as well.
Absolutely.
But I think you're right. I think Dallas kind of sums up just that attitude of the 80s.
Yeah.
So,
we shot JR.
Yeah.
I could just remember that.
I think one of the most watched TV episodes of all time.
Ever. Yeah.
And I remember vividly being in the grocery store and seeing like all the tabloids with, they were going to spoil it or, and like it was everywhere. You could not get away from that.
Yeah.
And I mean,
brilliant marketing.
It really was. And Dallas really mastered the art of the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
They did a real good job with that.
That's right.
And I'm trying to remember, did Aaron Spelling write Dallas? Or no, he wrote Dynasty. As the competitor.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
and that was the show. Dallas was the show that everybody in our neighborhood watched. And so you would talk, the kids would talk about it, parents would talk about it. I mean, there had been Facebook back then. It would have been all over the place. And that wasn't quite the same with like a Falcon Crest or Dynasty or whatever, where not everybody kind of gathered and talked about what happened last week and what was going to happen this next week. The cliffhanger, that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that. Dallas mastered the cliffhanger.
They did. And I think the reason maybe, so I'll just talk about it now. I think the reason that maybe Dallas was a little bit more accessible is because they seemed more like this could really be any family, any one of our families, if only we had gotten into the oil business or whatever. Whereas Falcon Crest and Dynasty was much more like we're wearing our evening gowns around the house.
Just as we're walking around watching Price is Right.
Yeah, which was kind of what the daytime soap opera shows were almost like. And it was funny because I saw a little bit of that attitude kind of creep into into my neighborhood where where people were dressed up like a lot fancier. Right. Dallas was much more stripped down, if you were. Right. So it was like they would work, but you'd see them in blue jeans and stuff, and then of course then they'd go to the fancy dinners, and you'd see all that too.
Absolutely.
But it just wasn't the casual hanging around the house kind of stuff.
No, you're right. You're right.
It was almost like a blue collar family made good.
But these were real people.
Yeah,
there was a lot of realism to it. And when Ginger and I lived in Scotland, most of the people that we were friends with in Scotland thought everybody was like Dallas because it was a show that showed that played over there, and so they thought, well, don't all y'all have like big houses and big cars and hundreds of thousands of cows and that sort of thing? But, so Dallas, cultural icon there, but that's good.
You didn't tell the truth, did you?
Loved it. Yeah, no, I didn't tell the truth. I said, well, of course we're all just like that.
Yeah, I had to leave it all over there.
Yeah, that's right. Couldn't bring it with us. We sold the farm in order to come.
There you go. The flight was very expensive.
That's right. All right, so my the last one that is going to stand out to me of those late night soaps was L.A. Law.
Oh, okay, great show.
L.A. Law.
Yeah,
it really was a good show. Kind of the Suits before the Suits, and enjoyed. Growing up, I always wanted to be a lawyer, and so I love the law, and maybe that's why I like some of these other shows that were investigation shows as well, kind of the Law and Order theme. But really enjoyed L.A. Law, and again, maybe some themes and elements that weren't necessary, but the way that people were treated and harassment that couldn't do that today. Yeah, you couldn't make LA Law today, but it was a great show, a great cast of characters, an ensemble of characters that have gone on to do a lot of different things, and you kind of had movie actors and actresses in on the small screen and vice versa, kind of watching some things. So anyway, LA Law was one of those shows that I liked. L.A.
Law is a great pick, and I'm right there with you that to me that was a missing element of a lot of the investigative shows, especially a lot of the police shows. It was kind of like, okay, you caught the guy, but now
what?
And of course, studying civics and social studies in school, we learned all about due process, and to see that play out on screen was great.
Yeah.
And L.A. Law was kind of my first introduction. Well, the People's Court was really my first introduction.
Right.
But that was just
it
was what it was. I mean,
reality.
That was reality TV before reality.
That's right.
L.A. Law was fun because it was a stylized version of it. You kind of got to see what a lawyer, what you thought a lawyer might look like and how they might behave.
Yeah.
And of course, it's totally unrealistic in that law firm handled every kind of legal thing possible. And of course, we know in reality they specialize. But that was a great show, and I agree. I love the drama in that show. Now, was that 5 for you?
That was 5, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Am I at 5 or am I at?
Let's see.
Okay, I'm at 4.
Okay, so that was 4 for me. I've got one more then.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. This will be my 5th, and this one I may get a technical foul for this one, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Okay. So it's going to be wrestling.
Oh, right.
Now,
okay.
Reason why is wrestling came on at 10 or 11 o'clock at night on either Friday or Saturday night. Now it is not it's not a written soap opera in the way that
it's a soap opera.
But it's a soap opera. So it's not fake, it's scripted. Yeah. And you've got your villains, you've got your good guys, you've got your conflict, you had your male-female relationship kind of stuff going on. It was just a lot of fun. Yeah. Like once I kind of got into it and embraced it. So I was in kind of what I'm going to call the heyday of the WWF, which was when a lot of these little regional wrestling outfits kind of got together. Yep. Created the World Wrestling Federation, and I mean, I just remember seeing characters that I just love, and I'm going to call them characters. Yeah. That I just love seeing on screen with Hulk Hogan. I mean, Hulkamania was running wild. Mm-hmm. King Kong Bundy, Andre the Giant, Rowdy Roddy, just all these people, all these wonderful storylines of who hates who and who betrayed this person. And of course, Randy Macho Man Savage had Elizabeth as a manager, who was this woman dressed up in the ball gown, probably from Dynasty.
Right, that's right.
And then George the Animal Steel, he loved her, and that was kind of like a King Kong relationship. It was this weird thing. It was just a lot of fun, and again, I remember staying up late to watch that with my dad. Mm-hmm. And for the life of me, at the time, I don't remember why my dad liked it so much, because it was just so goofy. But we just had, it was my little brother, myself, and my dad staying up late watching that on, I think it was Saturday night, and it was just fun because I was young, so staying up that late to watch something was just a lot of fun.
No, that's awesome. I think that's a great pick.
Thank you.
That's a great nighttime pick. Yeah. But it is scripted, but there is something about the drama that you were drawn into. Who was going to betray, change sides, and that sort of thing. So
and even though it was scripted, it wasn't because things could happen. I mean, anytime you get athletes doing what they are doing, things can happen. And again, looking back at documentaries and stuff, it's neat to hear the stories. Like, oh yeah, we were in here. This was supposed to happen, but
it didn't.
He got hung up, and now and they have to improvise on the fly.
And just good actors.
To kind of see it play out was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that pick. All right, so my last one then is going to be, I'm going to go back to the law theme again, and that is The Paper Chase. Okay. So The Paper Chase started as a book, became a TV show, became a movie with John Houseman, who is one of my absolute favorite actors of all times. He played the professor Kingsfield at Harvard Law School, and it was in a lot of ways what inspired me for the longest time to want to be a lawyer. I loved that show. Loved the way it was in the classroom and outside of the classroom. There was drama among the students, between the teacher and the students, and it was just a lot of fun. Kind of exposed what law school was supposed to be like, and these burgeoning as you follow them through their years in law school and beyond. So The Paper Chase was a big and important one for me.
Okay, now that's not one that I'm familiar with. I remember seeing the ads for it, and I know the name, but I don't think that I've ever seen an episode of that. So I might have to go back on YouTube
and they're all on YouTube.
Try and find that.
Yeah, they're there. They're there.
That sounds good, and obviously I'm at a point now where I could kind of appreciate that.
That's right.
That's right. It's neat because I love John Grisham books, especially his early stuff where he talks about students being in law, and then usually finding dissolution with it a little bit later.
That's right.
So that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
That's
a Paper Chase. It's good. The movie was good. You can watch the movie on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And then the TV show was. Okay. I think it ran for 3 years or 4 years maybe.
And it's fun. It's interesting that I didn't find that because so many of the movies that I love from the 80s, so many of the dramas actually were like legal thrillers. Dealing with a courtroom case or something. So that's kind of neat.
That's right. We're all learning stuff.
Yeah. So that's So that's our 5 picks. We ended up picking a lot of investigation / legal
Absolutely.
ones.
I think we like those.
And then we've got, Airwolf and wrestling.
Which fits perfectly.
Yeah, because a lawyer could take the Airwolf, to court if they're
Absolutely. That's great. I love those picks. Love them.
All right, so those were our picks. And we left a lot of them. Of course, we didn't talk about Dynasty, Falcon Crest,
Knots Landing.
Magnum PI.
Oh, absolutely.
That could have made the list.
Yeah.
All
MASH.
right. MASH. Yeah, that was another good one. Well, another inappropriate one.
At every turn.
Yeah.
At seemingly every turn.
Yeah. All right. So what did we leave off our list that you would have included? Please let us know down in the comments below. Again, leave the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the share button, and we will see you guys next time.